he has 1 or 2 slips, but that's it. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be where we are.
Yeah, most of these guys aren't in for an easy night's sleep because some of the competitors have broken down and they're going to get into the bottle and have a few dops and enjoy the felt. Well, most of these guys wouldn't have had a very good night's sleep because they've already raced in their brain whilst they were sleeping, and you know, you just foresee all the problems and the holes that you hit yesterday, you expect you're going to hit again today. And to be quite honest with you, you really have a bad night's sleep.
The final day of racing saw competitors tackle the previous day's route in a reverse direction. There was another service opportunity after the loop, and then it was off to Gaborone, where the first competitors were expected to finish at around 2 p.m. Naturally, it was the Chepek team which led away from the start, with Reiniger starting some 3 minutes later, and the battle was on, even though they were racing for separate championships. After a longer wait, Schilling and Thorn got ready for their start, knowing that a lot of hard driving lay ahead if they were to score their maiden win in Botswana.
Got to go for it, have no punctures, keep the pressure on those boys and catch them. Want to win today. We've done it before, so coming from behind, but car's good, navigator's good here, and we had a good night in the bush, so we're ready for it.
The question was, would they be able to make up a 15-minute deficit?
You know, one of the things with a desert race is you drive to the overnight and then you race back, and the strategy is crucial. And if you come in within 20 minutes of the leader, you've got a very real chance of winning this race. If you look at the results of the past 2 years, drama always happens in the last 20-odd 30 Ks of the race. And for Schilling to be so positive going out there, he knew he had to go like hell, because Frans Chepek Jr. is really a good driver, and as can be seen, he's very quick. I personally think he's a bit quicker than his old man, and Schilling would have had his day cut out for him with the dust. It's very easy to catch a guy, but it's another story overtaking him.
Schilling certainly wasn't hanging about, and neither was Lambert, as the big Class A cars battled to keep on the straight and narrow. Veslau seemed to be the most cautious of the bunch, but even his pace seemed rather quick. Behind him, Harvey seemed intent on making up ground as quickly as possible and was kicking up huge clouds of dust as the tyres scrabbled to find grip. Behind Bahrain, the Class B battle had undergone a complete turnaround. Italians Leon Buerter and Richard Everingham held second in their rather rapid home-built ETT Bushmaster that had young Bevan Berthold breathing down their necks. Nardus Alberts, over an hour behind the leaders, had nothing to lose, so put the hammer down and went for broke. Even the helicopter seemed to lose out to them in the fast straight sections.
This is a brilliant television shot. You can see how quick he's going down there. It really doesn't show the true speed of the car, but he's doing close to 80 miles an hour.
Tony Yeo, without front-wheel drive, had no intentions of chasing RP Reiniger.
No predictions today. I'm not going to chase RP. I just want to stay with the same space and finish the desert. That's my main aim.
They were being caught by the Birkin brothers, though, which was a testament to driver Andrew's resolve, as he'd undergone a back operation only a month earlier. Although the Birkins had extended their advantage over Fincham, the Land Cruiser was still too close for comfort. Class E Toyota Hilux drivers Jannie Visser and Christo Finikak had thrown caution to the wind and started making inroads on the class leaders. After their fuel problems the previous day, Coetzee and Swanepoel were intent on getting to the front, but passing slower cars on this twisty loop was proving far more difficult than anticipated. Back at the starting area, the quads were preparing for their race, and with a clear road ahead of him, there seemed little chance of anyone making up much time on the Lichtenberg Farmer. Brickel won here last year after Van Deventer's bike burnt out, and he knows that it ain't over till the black and white linen is finally waved. He isn't known for throwing in the towel, so rode as hard as ever. Johan Lotter had surprised a lot of people with his pace on the first day. He was still over half an hour behind Van Deventer, who certainly wasn't taking it easy if the view from the helicopter is anything to go by. Brickel had hadn't relaxed his pace either, and the aerial shot shows just how narrow the tracks are and how little room for error there is. One mistake and those thorn trees will turn your body into a pincushion. After his problems the previous day, Van der Merwe was staying on the gas in a futile attempt to get back on terms with the leading duo. Anton Badenhorst seldom competes at national level, but had done well to complete day one only an hour and 10 minutes behind Van Deventer, and seemed able to maintain the gap over Polaris rider Niels van der Walt, whose brother Chart is one of South Africa's leading rally drivers. Back to the two-wheelers, and McLaughlin had set a tremendous pace.
I'm happy about the starting position. I'm going to go as fast as I can. I'm not too happy. We're a bit close to the quad, so there's really going to be dust early this morning. But luckily we all have to have the same dust, so I think I'm going to try and use it to my advantage.
He did just that, and virtually paralysed the opposition with his pace. Behind the Bloemfontein rider was Dalton, who was riding with new confidence after his good run the previous day. Jeremy Davies was going like a rocket, but Finikak was riding for a class win and wasn't chasing the bigger engine bikes ahead of him.
Well, I think I got a bit of a disadvantage this morning. The first few Ks is pretty fast and bigger bikes might catch up to me.
The next KTM team rider was Carl Leroux on the 362 stroke, and he was being chased by the similarly mounted Evan Pretorius, who was still holding on to a top 10 position. Wayne Farmer wasn't far behind on his 200 Kawasaki and was in a position to pounce should the class leader Finikak encounter problems, although Spencer Creel was catching him. But sadly, Creel had to retire with a broken gearbox. Elmer Simons is another of the young Turks that have come up through the ranks and should go a long way. But one of the fastest of all the two-wheelers was Enslin. He was carving through the field in a desperate attempt to make up some of the time he'd lost by running out of fuel. Tom Klaassen couldn't stay with him, and neither could the experienced Hilton Haywards on the Schimwel's Yamaha 4-stroke. But without doubt, it was Cox who was quickest of all in the morning. He'd started 17th and had already made up 2 places, while Dubai-based McBride was on the big 600 KTM thumper used in the Paris-Dakar by Cox. Only a brave man would put money on the outcome of the car race. The Chepex still held the advantage, but were driving at 10 tenths as they tried to keep the big Toyota at bay.
Well, what they're doing now is they're racing to get to the service point as fast as they can to try and pull a gap on RP, have a quick refuel and get out and pull a lead on him in the service.
Not even Schilling and Thorn's brutal-sounding V8-powered Jimco with its automatic gearbox could keep up the pace being set, and they'd already lost a bit of ground to the 2 leaders as the field now headed towards the service area for the final time. Harvey and Stone had made up a lot of ground as their rivals struck problems. They'd leapfrogged to 4th, having passed both Veslau and Lambert. Bahrain was still going strong, but was to lose a lot of time and drop off the leaderboard shortly after the service. Although not with the leaders, Veslau and Sully were having one of their best races, and the Astoria Raceco looked to be in good shape. Coetzee and Swanepoel were making up time very quickly, but their demise was imminent. A steering failure pitched them off the road.
Well, this is one of those times when the car goes off the road and you like to think that's something else. You know it's a problem, but you're just trying to tell yourself, no, it's not so bad, it may be a puncture. But I guess at that time, Cassie knew that there was a serious problem.
The Epsom car duly arrived for service, and the Chepex took on fuel, as John Lambert's better half summed up off-road racing.
We didn't wait here for hours with nothing happening when the first car arrives, and you know the action's starting and it's all the excitement starting all over again.
Well, our mate here, Roland Lambert, has just arrived. He's just stuck the car on its roof and burnt out the wiring loom, so they're going to make a makeshift plan. One of the advantages of racing in South Africa is everyone's there to help you, and in the States things are a lot different.
The major difference is the service areas. Where in the States, we are allowed to service anywhere and everywhere. Here, they're not. And one big difference is we're allowed to pre-run prior to the race and get to know the course. Therefore, it allows faster race pace and a faster overtime speed. Compared to here, you run off pace notes and you don't get to see the track first. You only get to run it once.
Van Deventer was in a class of his own and wasn't extending himself as he controlled the pace in the quad category. Breckel was still second, but could do little about reducing the gap to the Gaulois blonde rider. He still had a comfortable cushion over Van der Merwe, who was riding his heart out in a futile attempt to get back on terms with the leaders. Notice how he steers with one hand as he calmly switches over to his reserve tanks as they head towards the service park. By now, Paul Chomsa was well behind the front runners, but his fourth place wasn't under threat. As each kilometre was completed, So McLaughlin was extending his lead, and the Shell Connex Lesotho office equipment team could sense victory and the double as Dalton now looked secure in second place. Davies had retired his big Honda earlier in the morning, and a fine ride from Greg Aspinall saw him move up to third. Finicak was riding with a maturity that belied his youth and was focused on the 200 class victory. Ensslin was a joy to watch as he wrung every ounce of performance out of the FMF Kawasaki. As the riders tackled the last leg, he was closing on Finicak. Also riding as though there was no tomorrow was Cox, who was now looking at a top 10 finish. Not bad considering he was 17th at the start of the day. The rider he wanted to catch was Coral LaRue, who was holding a steady 6th. It's not often that an off-road race turns into a stock car race. Reiniger was now glued to the Chepex exhaust, but there's no room to pass, and the Raceco crew rightfully held their line.
Well, this is a bit of a controversial part of the race because the faster car should have been let through, and France should have let him through because RP had caught time on him. And obviously RP came and gave him a tap and said, "Hello, I'm here, time to let me through." He may not have felt the first one, but that one he felt. And then he pulls over immediately and lets RP through, which is the right thing to have done. I think he couldn't have held him off. After all, it's a separate race, you know, the production vehicles and the specials are separate, and he could have jeopardized his race chance.
Newton Love and Colin Podes picked up a puncture shortly before the end, and this gave Leon Buerter and Richard Everingham the opportunity they'd been waiting for, as they took the Class B lead as soon as the unlucky Love and Podes stopped to change the offending item. The Class E battle was a canter for the Birkin brothers, as they led from start to finish and were well clear of Visser and Finicak, who did well to close to within 12 minutes of the Birkin team. Second in Class D and fourth in the production category looked to be secure for the Yos and their hobbled Land Rover. There were no last-minute dramas for Reiniger and Houghton as they arrived at the finish to win Toyota's own event. The Birkins duly got second place, but almost 2 hours behind, while Visser and Finicak gave Toyota a clean sweep ahead of the Sabert Land Rover. Fifth finally went to Schumi van Vuuren and Fani Kotzer in the Mitsubishi Pajero as the Frankenbergs rounded off the top 6.
But we're very proud to be here, and we're very happy to win this event. It's one of the biggest events on the calendar, and I think it's the major one to win.
Out comes the bubbly and the traditional ritual of then wasting it. Less than a minute behind the victorious Toyota, the disgruntled Chepex crew arrived to claim the special vehicle honours. They'd extended their cushion on Schilling and Thorne to 17 minutes, while Harvey and Stone took third ahead of Veslau and Sally, who hadn't put a foot wrong throughout.
Well, a wonderful achievement for Franz Chepex Jr. This is the first time he's driven the race and won it, and he's done the whole event. Normally his dad does half the driving and he does the driving. He's really done well. Well done, Franz.
As expected, McLaughlin arrived home to win his second successive desert race as Dalton made it a Honda 1-2 by taking second, albeit 22 minutes behind. A brilliant ride from Aspinall saw him take third ahead of Finicak and Ensslin. LaRue was well pleased with his 6th place as Cox climbed to 8th, and Wayne Farmer was 10th overall and the second 200cc rider home.
I pushed hard the whole day. This morning when I pulled off, I thought I had a good chance, and I definitely I just pushed hard the whole day. I think the other guys are quite a way back. There's a couple of cars where, 2 cars where I got lucky. They wrong slotted because I was in the dust for about 15 minutes and they wrong slotted and I got past them. I think that's where I got my break.
There was a similarly dominant ride from Van Deventer, who was due to leave for a race in Portugal later in the week. Breckel kept his second place despite Van der Bava closing the gap slightly. The rest were over 2 hours behind as Cornel de Villiers claimed the 200 class honours.
Ek het een foutjie gemaak hier voor die einde en ek het geval is die eerste keer. Ja, ek sien baie uit na Portugal. Ek wil net sê baie dankie aan Gulas Blond, Castro wat my gehelp het om hier te kom en my help om daar te gaan ry. En ek kan net vir die organisasie en al die mense sê baie dankie. Dit was 'n pyk event. Baie dankie.